It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back. You are live with Expresso on a beautiful Monday morning. Thank you so much for tuning in. A little bit earlier in the show, Tsolo started a conversation with the trend translators, as they are called, from Flux Trends. They obviously keep their finger on the pulse of the major trends that are influencing our world, the way we think, the way that we live. And we're going to continue now exploring the acronym TRENDS. We've done the T, the R, and the E. We now move on as he continues to connect with an incredible group of thinkers right now.
A very good morning to Expresso family. If you've just tuned in, we are coming to you live from a sunny Johannesburg, talking everything Trends 2020 with Flux Trends translator Bronwyn Williams. Now, a little bit earlier on, she spoke to us about the 3 trends in the Trends acronym, which they've modeled their list around, that being technology, retail, as well as the economy. And now we are going to move over to everything natural, standing for the letter N, Bronwyn. I mean, we've seen over the last couple of years, retail stores are going for a more plastic-free shopping experience. When we go to restaurants, we're seeing us being offered biodegradable straws. How far do you think this global phenomenon is going to go in 2020?
Well, yes, the biodegradable straws, or even the pasta straws you might have seen at some more of your trendy restaurants at the moment, they're absolutely just the tip of the iceberg, because plastic is obviously a huge problem in the world right now. They've done tests on children across the world, and they're finding that almost all humans already have microplastics in our bodies. So plastics are coming from everything, from your shampoo or from your face wash. They've got those micro beads in them sometimes, all the way through to, of course, our obsession with plastic packaging, which is definitely something we're also going to see retailers pushing back against, or that's driven by both consumers and by retailers. It doesn't make so much sense for us to be wrapping fruits and healthy produce in loads and loads of plastic that all ends up in a landfill. So it's also not just a consumer trend, this. We're also seeing it from governments that are cracking down on plastic consumption. So in Africa, there are several countries that can actually land you a jail term if you're caught using single-use, say, plastic bags from your retail store. So we're going to see a lot more of that coming on board. And then, of course, there's the big trend around the world, especially led by really young people like Greta Thunberg, who've been really trying to raise awareness of these issues across the world, because it's obviously not just plastic. There are also issues with things like climate change. We all know what's going on in Australia at the moment. So the natural world as a story and as a topic is definitely something we are focused on this year.
I mean, I'm all for the eradication of plastic. I mean, we've seen just how much havoc that they cause in the oceans and the animals that live in the oceans. But moving on to the second last trend, which is diplomacy. I mean, civil protests are on the rise, you know. Does this mean that democracy will come to the people? Are the people going to get their power back, would you say?
I would say that we don't know what's going to play out there. I don't want to, we're not futurists, we're trend analysts. We're trying not to guess what's going to happen in the future. But what we are seeing that's a very positive trend is that young people across the world, everywhere from South Africa right through to the US, right through to Hong Kong, young people are taking the lead and trying to shape the future that they want to live in. So that for me is a very positive sign. And the fact that young people are taking to the streets and speaking their minds is something that shows that there's been a consciousness about the world that we live in and being proactive about designing the future that we want.
And that, of course, brings us to our last trend, building on that point, actually, which is socio-cultural. Now, we know that young people are very much affiliated with pop culture. There's lots and lots of commentary in pop culture, be it in movies, be it in music. Would you say that this trend is also going to force society to take a look back at themselves?
I'd say that ties in very nicely with the diplomacy trend, because we definitely saw things like the Joker movie that came out last year that was very political. And we've seen pop culture and even celebrities really taking up the baton for social issues. So you would have seen at the Golden Globes, for example, how politicized those speeches are from the actors and award winners. So once again, it just speaks to a raised consciousness about our place in the world and about defining the space and the economy and the democracies that we want to live in going forward.
And this is a bit off topic. I mean, we've discussed all the trends now, but a huge buzzword at the moment for a couple of months has been fourth industrial revolution. Is the line between humans and technology going to be blurred? And if so, just how drastic or severe is it going to be?
Well, it already is. That line is definitely getting blurred at the moment. So, I mean, even if you have something like a pacemaker, you're already a cyborg, aren't you, when you start thinking about it like that? But I suppose the bigger conversation is to be had around things like inequality and joblessness. robots coming forward, not necessarily because the robots are going to take all of our jobs, but rather perhaps because we don't have the correct skills to fill the future world of work. And that's definitely something that we have our eye on here in South Africa. I think it's vitally important that we train our younger people, our young generations, our young workers and our young adults to have dynamic, adaptable skills that are going to see us through into the future. And maybe that's not necessarily having a traditional job, but maybe it is just having the ability to harness technology, coming back to what we spoke about earlier with the access to internet, just ways to use the fourth industrial revolution for our own advantage to become financially independent.
Seems like we're in for a very exciting 2020 and beyond. Bronwyn, thank you very much. As you've heard from Bronwyn Williams, who is a Flux trend translator, trends are a big thing, and in the way we sort of model our lives and in the way we create a better, sustainable world for all of us to live in. Like I said, thank you very much, Bronwyn, for sharing those trends with us. It is back to you guys in studio for now.